Similar conversation.
Morning. Welcome to the Local Planning Agency public hearing for October 8th. Today's public hearing by the Local Planning Agency is being held to review land use, plan amendment requests, zoning atlas amendment request, and other items relative to the county's planning and growth management program. The Local Planning Agency is an independent advisory board charged with reviewing and making a recommendation to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners on the cases to be heard today. The Board of final decision on each of the items we hear today at a public hearing currently scheduled for November 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. This meeting will be held at 333 Chestnut Street in the Palm Room. For each of the items we hear today, staff will make a brief presentation of about 20 minutes. The applicant will then present his or her case, and they'll have 20 minutes. We'll then hear from proponents, who will have 3 minutes each. Unless they're representing a group of 5 or more, then they'll have 10 minutes to make their presentation. Non-speakers must be present and waive their time. Then, from the opponents, 3 minutes each, unless representing a group of 10 or more, which the non-speakers must be present and waive their time as well. And then the applicant will be given an opportunity to close, answer questions, or respond to any concerns raised by the opponents or proponents, and they'll have 5 minutes for that. Before your presentation, please give your name and address for the record. All testimony needs to be under oath, so if you have not been sworn in already and you plan to testify, please rise now and be sworn in, and also please fill out a slip on the table and present it to the clerk before you speak. Anyone? Thank you. There will not be continuing rebuttal this morning, so please try to present all information and concerns while you are at the podium, please. If you plan to provide letters, written comments, studies, or other documents in response to the LPA's findings and recommendations, those must be received by the zoning section 15 days prior to the Board of County Commissioners meeting. And that meeting is scheduled for November 18th. That's in order to be included with the record that will be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners. With that said, we'll move forward with our first item on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I need to give my statement real quick.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Darrell McIntyre, County Attorney's Office. The zoning matters heard by the local planning agency are quasi-judicial in nature. Please note that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence may be considered by the board in deciding the matters before it. Pure speculation or opinion, not based on competent facts, cannot be legally considered by the board in the zoning matters. Lay testimony with fact-based support, including but not limited to meeting minutes, surveys, engineering reports, etc., may be considered competent and substantial evidence. And in one additional note, if anyone, and I've been bringing this up with some other boards, if anyone made a site visit, please disclose that at the call of each case. I think we may be, are we hearing the first two together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're hearing the first two together. So when the first case is called, if you visited the site, please just disclose that for the record. That way, that allows the applicant and everyone to know. So if you had a perception or they want to fill in any gaps or anything, just helps with due process. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now we'll hear case FLU 25-08.
Minutes first, Sam.
Yeah, minutes is 3.
Okay, thank you. Minutes from September 10th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second?
Thank you. Hamilton first. Johnson second. Now I think we're ready for our, we have to take a vote.
Got a vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Any opposed, like sign? Having none, motion passes. It's approved. Okay, now, public hearing.
The first two items will be heard together. They're companion items, FLU 2508 and ZON 2507. Scott Swearingen from Planning will be presenting these.
I did make a site visit.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I did a drive-by. I did not stop and walk the property or anything of that nature.
That counts, but thank you for saying it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the local planning agency, I'm Scott Swearingen. I'm the long-range planner with Pinellas County. It's a pleasure to be before you this morning, and I appreciate your time. The two cases before you that I will be presenting are companion cases, FLU 25-08 and ZON 25-07. The subject property is approximately 5.23 acres, and it's located on the north side of Keystone Road, 2271 Keystone Road, and that's in East Lake Tarpon. The future land use map amendment request, FLU-25-08, is to amend the future land use map from residential rural to institutional, and the companion case, ZON-25-07, is to amend the zoning atlas from residential agricultural to limited institutional. The applicant has expressed a desire to build a private K-8 school on the property, subject to approvals. The subject property is outlined in red. You can see it on the north side of Keystone Road, and you can make out the north end of Lake Tarpon to the south. As you can see from the aerial, the character around the subject property is on the north side of Keystone, mostly large lot, rural, residential single-family homes, along with vacant lands and agricultural lands. And then it's a little bit more mixed on the south side. You have a little more of a range of residential, from large lot single-family, small lot single-family, and a little bit of multifamily in there as well. There's also a small amount of retail commercial. A different view, an oblique view of the subject property outlined in blue, gives you just a little more flavor for the character surrounding the property. To the top of your photograph is generally looking kind of west-northwest. And you can make out Keystone Road on the left side of the photo. The map on the left of this slide shows the current land use, rural or residential rural, and it's also within the East Lake community overlay, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Property to the north and to the east is mostly residential rural, and then property to the west and a little bit to the north is within the city of Tarpon Springs, and that's actually residential very low on their future land use map. And then across Keystone Road to the south, you've got a little bit more of a mix of land uses from commercial to low residential, that kind of thing on the south side. And then the change in land use you can see on the map on the right of the slide. And then similarly, the zoning, residential agricultural, and then to the north and east is residential agricultural as well. To the west is within the city of Tarpon Springs, and that is in their agricultural district. And then to the south, across Keystone Road, you have residential plan development, so kind of more of a larger plan development with a mix of different types of residential dwelling units and whatnot. And you do have a little bit of commercial there as well, neighborhood commercial zone, and then some, I believe that's Commercial Parkway. And then the map on the right, you can see the change would be to limited institutional. This is looking at the subject property, so facing north along Keystone Road, looking at the curb cut there that's established for the subject property. And then this is facing east along Keystone Road, so looking in the direction of East Lake Road, the subject property in this instance. Yes, facing east, so it'd be, it's off the photo, outside of the frame, it'd be on your left. And then the opposite direction, looking west along Keystone Road, the subject property is on your right. The current residential rural future land use map category allows residential agricultural uses, and with some limitations allows institutional, transportation utilities, some ancillary, non-residential, and recreation open space uses. Verbatim in our comprehensive plan, this category is generally appropriate in areas where use and development characteristics are rural in nature, and in areas where environmental features are linked to the protection of natural resources such as aquifer recharge areas, groundwater resource areas, and the 100-year floodplain. The density is half a unit per acre in residential rural, and a FAR is 0.3 for non-residential uses. For the proposed institutional land use category, this allows, as you probably see, institutional type uses, so schools, medical, community, civic daycare, and public service type uses, and it also permits residential and recreation open space uses as well. And per our comprehensive plan, it's primarily well suited to those locations where educational, health, public safety, civic, religious, and like institutional uses are required to serve the community. 12.5 residential units per acre is residential density, and a 0.65 FAR for non-residential uses. And I'll wrap up with the zoning. The current residential agriculture zoning district, pretty much single-family residential lots, 2-acre lot minimum in the RA district, and a range of agriculture activities are permitted. To note, educational uses, including public and private schools, may be permitted in the RA zone as a Type 2 use. A Type 2 use requires the applicant to go to the Board of Adjustment and make a request in a public hearing setting for a Type 2 use. And the proposed institutional limited zoning category, again, a range of institutional type uses, education, semi-public, semi-public, which includes private schools, assembly spaces, civic, medical, and assisted living facilities. And the purpose of this institutional limited zone is to designate, develop, and accommodate public uses that serve the needs and interests of the surrounding community. And it has a maximum building height of 50 feet in this district. Some additional information. This is within the East Lake Tarpon Community Overlay, as I mentioned earlier, and that is designated in our comprehensive plan, and it's mapped on our future land use map as well. And so that includes objectives and policies in the case of this community overlay that are aimed at balancing a predominantly residential community with some limited retail, commercial, transportation, public facility, recreation, natural areas. And it's in Keystone Road in this area, in this segment, is a scenic non-commercial corridor with a rural open space subcategory. That's designated in the countywide plan rules and on the countywide plan map. And so what that does, it includes some restrictions on some more non-residential uses like office, personal service, retail commercial uses. Although institutional uses, per the rules, may be located along these corridors as they provide beneficial services to the community, provided a traffic carrying capacity and the scenic nature of the roadway is protected. And speaking of traffic capacity and the change in land use when we're looking at the land use categories going from the residential rural to the institutional, It could generate up to an additional 570 vehicular trips per day. Right now, Keystone Road operates with a 54% vehicle to capacity ratio. So what that means is that in the PM peak hour, the capacity is at about 54%. So the amount of traffic is at about 54% of the capacity. Sorry, I put that a little differently. This property is neither within the coastal storm area nor in the coastal high hazard area, so flood risk is low. In conclusion, staff finds the proposed future land use map and zoning atlas amendment appropriate, especially when considering the site's frontage along Keystone Road, consistent with other existing surrounding uses and similar non-residential and institutional type uses occurring along the Keystone Road corridor, and consistent with our comprehensive plan. Thus, staff recommends approval. Board of County Commissioners is scheduled to hear this item on November 18 in their 6 p.m. public hearing agenda. And that is all I have for my presentation. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions, should you have any.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions for staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
I was just curious, you mentioned it was not in a flood zone.
Correct.
But there's a body of water across Keystone Road. Looks like there's a community with some docks and everything. What is that body of water, and does that provide any flood issues?
That is Lake Tarpon. That is that body of water. And the way that the elevation moves northward from Lake Tarpon across Keystone Road, it rises quite quickly up there. And so it is not in our coastal high hazard area. It's not in FEMA's designations either, or in our coastal storm area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question. Am I correct in understanding that the current zoning for RR allows institutional under some circumstances?
So the RR, that's a future land use map category, that's on the property, and that does allow institutional uses in some instances. What it does, it limits the property size for institutional uses to 5 acres maximum. The property is 5.23 acres in size, which is the reason why they're looking for the institutional land. I don't want to speak for the applicant, but my understanding is that's why they're looking for that. If the property were 4.99 acres in size, this may not be a discussion. With regard to the zoning, since you mentioned the zoning, the residential agricultural zoning district allows for such uses as the applicant desires. Only, however, it's not a staff reviewed and
Right.
signed and sealed deal. They're required to go to the Board of Adjustment
Yeah.
and to make their case, and that's in a public hearing setting as well. And then the Board of Adjustment makes that final decision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought of another question. So you mentioned there'd be 570 more trips a day. I'm sure that's taking into consideration the number of cars that need to be dropping off students and picking up students throughout the day, is that correct?
The calculation is, these numbers come from Ford Pinellas, a study that they did where they looked at a multitude of land use types. They had a consultant look at a multitude of land use types and determine what would be, on average, the amount of trips, the average annual daily trips for different types of uses. And so for this type of use specifically, that is a trip calculation that is being made. Now, I want to caveat that by saying that this is, kind of a 20,000 foot level trip generation analysis. It's really for future land use mapping purposes. If the applicant is to go to, to submit a site plan, a site development plan, they may be required to do a transportation management plan. It will be looked at in more detail with a detailed plan. This is simply looking at the land use delta of change from the designation that's on the property to the designation that's being proposed. It's that delta of change. So the more detailed look at traffic, getting into the weeds a little bit more, that's something that occurs at the site plan review level. Because we have more detailed information at that point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The applicant will now make their presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I've got a PowerPoint. Here we are. All right. My name is Brian Ungst, 625 Court Street, Clearwater, McFarlane Ferguson, here on behalf of the applicant. The current owner is Wayne Vaughn. He is in the audience. Mr. Vaughn owns the property, and it's under a contract to be purchased by the Ignite Academy. Justin Gingrich is here representing Ignite Academy, as well as Kurt Heinrichs, our design professional, who's also involved with the school. This is a Christian K-8 school that is already established in the community. It is currently at the Radiant Church, which is located at 1350 East Lake Road, about 2 miles away from the proposed site. The Radiant Church is merging with another church, and they have not renewed the Ignite Academy's lease. Their lease runs out in July of 2026, so they are in need of a new forever home. And this site was identified as an appropriate site for their use. As you will see, it is consistent with the other institutional uses, private school uses in the immediate vicinity of the site, as well as houses of worship, multiple houses of worship that are within, just walking distance of the proposed site. I did want to point out, this is the portion of Keystone Road that is between US 19 to your west and East Lake Road to the east. It is not Keystone Road that is out east of East Lake Road. So this area is identified with residential and institutional development. You can see, as Board Member Johnson pointed out, to your southwest is a highly developed residential community. I also will get into this in a moment. The property directly adjacent to the west is owned by Paul Giallo. That is a 45-acre piece of property, and they're actively going through permitting or some kind of development review application with the City of Tarpon Springs for residential development on that site. So I don't want us to be operating in a vacuum where we don't have the entire information on the development pattern and the active development that is happening in that community, but it is anticipated that that property to the west, that flag-shaped property with the large pond, will be developed at some point with residential, whether it's residential agriculture or a residential low in the Tarpon Code, or something a little more dense. I'm not sure. We're not involved with that project, but I do know that they're actively going through the process. So we're kind of here on a technicality. I'd like to switch, if I could, between the overhead and the PowerPoint, but we received guidance from the staff, from Mr. Schotterbach, that instead of a Type 2 Board of Adjustment application, which is what we thought we would be pursuing, that because this site is 0.23 acres over the institutional limit in the RR future land use category, that the staff felt it would be more appropriate for us to pursue an institutional land use amendment. And the purpose for that is not that institutional uses are not appropriate or compatible in RR. They certainly are. They're allowed. They're permitted use in the current land use and the current zoning. But if your site is so large, the county would prefer to have the appropriate land use for a larger site than to have a bunch of conditional uses for very large sites. It provides for a comprehensive map consistency. So we're here basically on a technicality and not at the Board of Adjustment to go for a Type 2 permitted use. But it is, this board, as you all know, are not approving the site plan. You're finding, is there consistency with the goals, policies, and objectives of the comprehensive plan and of the land development code? And objectively, I think you're going to see that answer is yes. These uses, this K-8 private school use, is already allowed and it's already established under the current land use and zoning, and it's already existing in the immediate area. And it is compatible with that residential agricultural use that you see in that area. Let's flip back to the PowerPoint. So again, in discussing with county staff the best approach, whether that be a Type 2 application or a land use amendment, we were instructed that a land use amendment would be appropriate. And as you can see, the staff is supporting this application here today. So again, the request is simply to go from the current residential agricultural zoning to a limited institutional, and the current residential rural future land use to institutional. As has been discussed, institutional is allowed under the current land use and the current zoning, as is this use. But because of the size of the site, which works to our advantage from a compatibility perspective, and I'll get into that now. We are going for the land use amendment. So this is a very, very large site. It's very, very deep. It provides us with a tremendous amount of space to work on buffering and compatibility. This is a conceptual site plan that Mr. Heinrichs developed. You are not approving a site plan today. You know that. There are a tremendous amount of things that will go into site plan review with the East Lake overlay and the scenic corridor. It will be compatible. It will be buffered. There is a tremendous amount of trees existing. A lot of those trees will be retained. There will be appropriate landscape buffering. There will be appropriate setbacks. But as you can see, just from a conceptual perspective, what's proposed is a 40,000 square foot building. And I guess I should get into a little bit about what is the current enrollment, because I'm sure that's of interest. So right now we have 135 students and 75 families. That 570 car vehicle per day number, as Mr. Sorensen said, that is a big picture view of like if you put a hospital here, or if you put like the most intense institutional use, it would be 570 trips a day. We are only having 75 families with a small staff. And Justin can get into the specifics on that and answer any questions you have. Drop-off is currently 8:25 to 8:40 in the morning. Pickup is 3:20 to 3:35. Every car that is going to access this site, if they all came to this site at the exact same time, would be able to be contained on site. It's that large. That drive aisle is like 700 feet long, and they've got ample parking shown. And again, this is just simply a concept. But from an open space perspective and an FAR perspective, the FAR on this site plan is 0.175. So the current non-residential FAR under the RR land use is 0.3. So even if we were sticking at 4.99 acres, we'd be well below the allowable FAR under the current residential zoning. So again, this reason I'm telling you all that is it goes to compatibility, which I think is going to be a concern that you hear. Another thing to remember is this current site is not up to code for anything. It's not up to code for stormwater. As you know, Pinellas County has very, very, very good state-of-the-art stormwater and nutrition requirements for drainage and stormwater. And so bringing this site, developing this site with the K-8 private school will allow the site to be brought up to code for stormwater. So any concerns about runoff or stormwater drainage will actually be improved by this process and will actually be a benefit to the adjacent property owners. I know I saw in some of the email correspondence that was of concern. But you can see there's extremely generous setbacks, a tremendous amount of space for buffering and landscaping. I am going to ask Mr. Heinrichs to give you a brief overview from a civil engineering design perspective, and then I'll ask Mr. Gingrich to give you a little overview on just the operation of the school, and then we'll wrap up.
All right, good morning, Kurt Heinrichs. I'm a civil engineer. Just a very preliminary site plan at this point in time, but it'd be a two-story building, 20,000 square foot for the 2 floors. We'd have a pond towards Keystone, which would be the south side of the property. The property's very steep, and so the water right now we're thinking would drain to the pond and then it would connect into the Pinellas County storm drainage ditch that runs along Keystone Road. We've got parking. We've got about 80 parking spaces. It's 20 more than we'd be required by code. There was some mention of buffering. The county would require buffering of the any athletic fields that we'd have. Not that we plan on having an athletic field, but we plan on having possibly a recreation area. So that would have to be buffered if that were to be developed. The parking area would be buffered. The property line along that'd be the east side, they would have a 5-foot buffer, and then a 6-foot opaque fence from the neighbors would be required from Pinellas County. It's also mentioned about traffic study. Pinellas County will be requiring a traffic study, so that would be done before the site could be approved from a development standpoint. Yeah, any specific questions?
We'll get to questions as soon as we're done with the presentation. But Kurt, thank you very much. That was very helpful. And I'll introduce Justin now. You want to drill down a little bit more on the specific operations of this private school. Again, this is a very small, low enrollment, successful, but focused on individual studies and development of students private school. 135 current students, 75 families, no school buses. There are no buses. Transportation is provided by the families. And no competitive sports teams. There's not going to be travel sports coming to or from this site. There will probably be a field, like just a normal multi-use athletic field and a playground, but we certainly can put those on the west side of the property and buffer those from the neighbor to the east, who is obviously here with some concerns, but I wanted to make sure we preemptively address those concerns. And again, all of that will be looked at in great detail by the staff during the site plan process, which also requires compatibility. But Justin, did you want to add anything on just the current operation and the need for the application?
Yeah, so good morning, first off. So we've been operating in Tarpon Springs for 4 to 5 years now already. So we're established in the community. I know with Keystone, we already have multiple families who drive across Keystone because our property is on East Lake. And so with us moving, there will actually be some families that are already on Keystone who are using it, who are no additional traffic concerns. As he mentioned, we do not have like a competitive sports program. Our kids have PE during the day. So we are gone early in the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock. And every place that we've been a positive light to the community. We are here just to serve families in our community and to be a positive impact to the families.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, and brief summation. This is the current development of the existing developments in the area. So to the west, to the east, the Solid Rock Community School and the Plateau Academy, and West Coast World Church. I'm going to go back to the overhead real quick because I did a comparison of what is existing there and what we have proposed. So the Plateau Academy has 32 teachers and 349 students. It is an A school, high quality school. They have a FAR of 0.205. They have 53,000 square feet of existing building on 5.9 acres thereabout. The Solid Rock School has a 30,000 square foot building on 2.87 acres. Their FAR is 0.24, and what you're seeing on our concept plan is a 40,000 square foot building on 5.23 acres, which again is an FAR 0.175. So again, our site, given the depth and how large our site is, we have plenty of space to ensure compatibility and buffering. We're certainly not proposing any kind of monstrosity of a structure. The structure is actually a very, very small percentage of the overall site. So I did want to point that out. Going back to the PowerPoint, I've pointed out the academic and religious uses to the east. We also have an equestrian center, Cypress Turn Commercial Center, which is retail sales and services. I think there's a dentist's office in there. There might be a title company. There is a mosque. There is an Orthodox church. There's actually a construction yard, which is the closest to the subject property, so Augustine Construction. Across the street, there's a pizzeria. To the rear of the property is another equestrian center. And then again, to the west is the Paul Giallo property, which is actively going through some kind of development process with the city of Tarpon Springs to turn that into a residential community. I don't know the details on that, but I do know that it's in the process. And then as we get farther to the west, you have All Saints Episcopal Church and the Slavic Full Gospel Church. So as Mr. Swearengin said, this use is compatible. It's existing in the area. It's already allowed under the RR and RA zoning and land use, and we're simply here on a technicality because the site is 0.23 acres larger than it would need to be to go straight to the Board of Adjustment. And the application, as pointed out by the staff, and your hopeful recommendation of approval is supported by the goals, policies, and objectives of the Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code as laid out before you. I know we have a number of folks in the audience who'd like to speak about this, so we'll happy to answer any questions you have and look forward to getting just a final word on rebuttal.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Board members, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Not at this time. Mr. Ongst, could you stay put for just a second? Madam Clerk, did you get all the name and address information you needed from all three gentlemen?
Yes, I have a card for Justin Gingrich and a card for Kurt Heinrichs. And Mr. Ongst, you've been to Pinellas County. Okay, then
Oh, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to make sure
Thank you very much.
we need a record. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, having no questions, we'll now hear from the proponents.
So if you're in favor and you want to speak, this is your opportunity to speak.
This is my big nightmare. But anyhow, good morning. My name is Nancy McAmis. My address is 2373 Keystone Road, adjacent to 2271 Keystone Road. My husband and I have owned the property for over 40 years. I've taught for 30 years in both Pinellas and Pasco County, from elementary to high school. I'm aware of the proposed school and understand that it is one of the uses for agricultural property. Between East Lake Road and US 19, there is a mix of residential and institution encompassing commercial, churches, and schools. It's about 50-50. We went down and counted it. So I'm not surprised that this is a proposed site for a school. We need more schools. We need more choices for our families in Pinellas and Pasco County. I'm in support of this school project. And we have 8 acres next door. Not that that matters, but thank you for listening to a longtime resident of Pinellas County and Tarpon Springs and East Lake. We have seen a tremendous amount of change, and you know, it falls under it, and so we support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor of?
Hi everybody, I'm Rick Khalil, 3269 Hyde Park Drive. I was born in Morton Plant, so I've lived here my whole life, 45 years so far, doing pretty good. And to her point, obviously things change a lot around here in 45 years, but certain development we can all kind of say, I wish we didn't do that. But this is one of the developments that I think is a positive impact on the community. I know Justin, my kids go to Ignite Academy, and it really is the kind of thing that I'm proud to see developed and built in Pinellas County as we keep growing and growing. So I'm in favor of it too.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm John Barbaressos, resident of Tarpon Springs, 2866 Post Rock Drive. Also a business owner in Tarpon Springs. 4 kids. My oldest goes to Ignite. Very great school. I love dropping my kids off there every day. Look forward to having the next 3 other ones go there. I'm in favor and look forward to hopefully getting this site worked out for the school. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sharice Katsaros, and I live at 1610 Pennsylvania Avenue in Palm Harbor. And I just wanted to say I also have 4 children, and I've been really pleased that we can take advantage of all the different opportunities of public, private. I've had children at the Plato Academy as well, the charter school, the gifted school, and it's been really great to have different opportunities for each kid to see them thrive in using their gifts. My youngest has attended Ignite Academy for the past 3 years, and it is like no school we've attended. It is definitely more than a school. It's an environment not only for her to grow and use her gifts, but it's a community. It really is a small family. I have learned more about the community through that school because of all the involvement and volunteering that we get to do and partnering with local businesses. It's been a great opportunity to teach my daughter that there's more to the world than just her little world and family, and how the things that she's learning at school need to be used to grow her as a well-abiding citizen. And the teachers there and the staff, they really care about each of our children, and they're looking at them as individuals as a whole to teach them not only academics, but really how to live in the world and use their gifts. And so I'm very appreciative of that. So I support this school moving forward. Thank you.
Any other input from proponents? If not, do we have any online, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. There are no participants online.
Thank you. Now we can hear from the opponents. You'll each have three minutes, please.
My name is Linda Van Dam, and I'm here to dispute the school being built, and I have 63 neighbors that are against it. We have signed petitions, and I actually made things for people to look at. I thought there was only going to be 5 board members here, but it's pictures of the property and different things. Can I hand these to you?
We've all received copies, I think.
No, you haven't, not of these.
Okay.
Can I give them to you?
To the clerk, I think. She'll take care of it.
There's 5 of them for everybody there. These go with it. That goes with each one. Each one gets one of those.
Can you share one with John to make it easier?
They're supposed to have that white paper, is supposed to be on top of that.
We don't need to share that.
Okay, I've never done this before, and I really am not sure of how this works, but I made up this little packet, and it shows you the property, and on there it has numbers that show where you're at as you look through the pictures. And it starts with the first one is the driveway going up to that property. And then the next one is the Pinellas Trail, which I'm going to tell you a story about that from this morning. Next one is looking up towards my house. The fence is really the lot line and the driveway, so I'm like wedged up against that. My house basically is tilted to where it looks right towards his property. And the next one is just another one looking towards the driveway. Then,
Ma'am, what the clerk just did for you there, now your stuff's on the overhead, that's why she was centering it for you.
Okay.
I didn't know if you understood what she
okay,
was doing, but.
so this is looking out my living room window towards the driveway again, just to show you how close I am to this thing. It's another view of the lot line, the next page. And then this, my house has 4 gigundo windows that look out to the woods, and my privacy is completely shot once this thing moves in there. I'm staring right into it. The next one is a view from my bedroom window, which is a really great view. And last but not least, here are the schools. Here's Solid Rock with their neon light flashing that they're now enrolling, and that's 3/4 of a mile from this site. And then the next school is on the other side, and this is their sign showing they're having a harvest festival, which is going to add a lot of noise. This is a residential neighborhood. It's not a school zone, and we don't want it. The last picture is a home that's being built on Keystone Road, and it's a 20,000 square foot home. So they're asking for a 40,000 square foot building to be built up on that hill. So you take this picture and double it, and that's what we have to live with. So we don't like it, we don't want it, and 63 families around, which is encompassing probably 200 acres that I canvassed. They hate it. There's not one person that wants this and for this. We don't want it. It's ruining our lifestyle. We moved to the country for peace and quiet, and we're against it. So with that said, I'm just going to read a little statement here. My name is Linda Van Dam, and I live at 2343 Keystone Road, just east of 2271. I looked for 3 years before I found this house, close to everything, in the most beautiful place on earth, and it is. The fact that it was zoned agricultural residential, 1 home per 2 acres, made me feel safe. Who knew that this could happen? I just want to ask Justin if he would want this monstrosity. Where are you, Justin? Would you want this monstrosity next to your home? I don't think so. I'm not sure what an algorithm is, but I do know what traffic jams are. Keystone Road between 19 and East Lake is short. It's 3.5 miles, but it's extremely busy. It takes 2 to 3 cycles to get through heading to 19 and south. You can't get through. And it's the same on East Lake heading north. We need those turn lanes to be extended like 2 times. It's that bad. And I will tell you, this morning when I pulled out of my driveway, I have to go over the bike trail. There's bikes coming from both directions, and the cars are lined up because it's very busy regardless of what he had to say. I live there. I know how busy it is. So the cars are lined up. I can't get out. Now I got bikes coming at me. I can back up because I'm alone in my driveway. What are the moms going to do? They're not going to be able to back up because they're all going to be lined up trying to get out of there. So it just is, it's a terrible situation, and it's not going to work.
I'm sorry, we're out of time. I'm going to ask you to wrap up and finish up your presentation.
Okay, so. Okay, in closing, I don't want to watch cars go up and down the hill, smell exhaust all day long, hear screaming kids on the playground, floodlights at night, lighting up my house and my yard. You are invading my privacy, my happiness, and there will be no peace for me. I didn't move here for this. You have choices, I do not.
Thank you. Do we have any other opposed or opponents to hear
I don't
from?
know if anybody's going to speak. Do you want my?
Good morning. My name's Mark Washburn. I live at 124 East Lake Drive. I've lived there for 30 plus years. That puts me 1 block to the east of where this property is located. I'm also the president of SaveEastLake.org. We're a 501c4, filing as a nonprofit. And we have members that are in that whole general area, 126 families, including on Westgate, East Lake Drive, Powell Lane, North Highland Ave, Keystone, of course, and then south on Old East Lake Road. I've been in communication with our members, which are mostly families that live in the area, and they're not happy about this, and there's a few different reasons. One, of course, this lot is situated directly on the Pinellas Trail, so any ingress, egress has to cross the trail. Now, someone mentioned Paul Jallo. Paulie bought the property next door, and he's planning on building 4 homes for his family to move there. And he was denied ingress, egress onto Keystone Road because of the traffic patterns on the trail. So he's actually been, with his application, trying to get an ingress, egress on North Highland Ave, which is on the other side of his property. But this property in question doesn't go all the way to the other side, to Highland, so they don't have that option. So this is definitely not the right spot. Now, there's plenty of lots for sale that are further east on Keystone Road that are roughly the same size. I've seen several for sale signs, and yes, maybe that's not where they perfectly want it, but those are zoned the same way and can be rezoned to be institutional as well. So my membership, 126 families, would like you to decline this as a possibility, because it's not compatible, and especially with them being houses right up against this 40,000 square foot building. And talking about 40,000 square feet, the Solid Rock School would be the closest example that's similar. I think the attorney mentioned it was 30,000 square feet. It's not. It's 22.6 of actually heated air-conditioned space at Solid Rock, and that's 2 two-story buildings that are separate. So this school would be almost double that size on a much, much smaller lot. They were talking about buffer, but they only have 15-foot setbacks once this goes to, if this gets approved. And that's just not compatible with this poor lady who lives right next door, and one to the north and one to the east. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers this morning?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Ed Hoffman. I live at 216 George Street South. I've been there since 1981. And I grew up on the other side of the lake. And my problem is that I grew up here. And watching things, they talk about progress and it just bite by bite by bite. And we used to live out in kind of the 2-lane nowhere, which was fabulous. And I just look at that property that is one of the few, getting to be one of the fewer spaces where it's open space with woods and from an environmental perspective. I'm an architect. I designed Brooker Creek Elementary School. I did a lot of work at what became Plato Academy and have to dodge the cars that are coming out of there. When they let out and all the single cars are going across the 4-lane, it gets pretty exciting sometimes. And when they have church service, it's not a problem because they have a traffic officer there slowing people down. But after school and before school, or particularly after school, it's a problem. I also did Brooker Creek Preserve, those buildings in there, and designed the whole preserve basically. And so I love the nature thing, and my biggest thing is that it's just keep taking one more bite, more and more bite at a time, and it's real frustrating to me. I think it's zoned the way it is, and it should be remained that as open space, as with low impact. And so, anyway, that's my point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers in opposition this morning?
Chris Robowski, 1602 Gulf Beach Boulevard, Tarpon Springs, 34689. I'm opposed to this. I drive by that property a couple times a week to go to our office in West Chase, and the traffic is backed up as it is. And the light at East Lake it's backed up all the way to the plaza. So if you're headed in the morning, I assume, going towards US 19, it's going to be backed up the same. So if you add this, I mean, if you allow residents to build their houses on one house every 2 acres, it's not going to back up traffic any more than what's already taking place, which is already terrible. But if you allow this structure to be built, it's going to back up a whole lot more. So, I mean, that alone should be enough to deny this thing. Not to mention, it was zoned that way for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Charlie Smith, 2000 North Highland Avenue. We're opposed to the new development. And I was going to mention back with Ms. Johnson, you mentioned about the flooding. You were asking Lake Tarpon Avenue is freshwater, so it doesn't fluctuate up and down, which is to the south of the property. To the north of the property, it's Anclote River, so it fluctuates with the tide. Back when Helene came through on North Highland Avenue, we had 2 foot of water with the storm surge that came through. So there is, not far from this property, fluctuation with floodwaters, possibly depending on what kind of storms may come through, just to respond back to what you would ask about.
Thank you.
And I guess the biggest thing, like people have mentioned also, as far as with the crossing the Keystone Pinellas Trail, the Jallow property has already been rejected because of the traffic flow in and out. And also, when my daughter was growing up, we went to Solid Rock Community School, and in the afternoon when I was picking up, cars would be backed out into Keystone Road to get into the property, not even discounting crossing the trail, just the number of cars in and out. So the traffic problem is going to be the biggest thing for that area in the mornings and afternoons. And that's all we got. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition this morning?
I don't think I quite used my 3 minutes. Can I have half a minute?
Half a minute.
I would ask that you not do that. So once someone's spoken and left the podium.
Sorry, council says no.
Yeah, we can't do that. It sets a precedent, and then everybody's going to come back up.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you. Any other opponents that have not spoken? Okay. Any online this morning?
No changes to online participants.
Thank you. Now, would the applicant like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just pull the PowerPoint back up real quick, I'll be brief. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, board members, appreciate your time this morning, as always, and your consideration of this application. As we discussed, we're here essentially on a technicality. This use is already permitted, given the current land use and zoning. Mr. Rabowski said it was zoned that way for a reason. Well, this use is an allowable use in the current zoning and the current land use, which is why you see private schools that are similar and actually more intense in some ways to this request in the immediate area. The Solid Rock School and Plato Academy have a higher FAR because they're on sites that are about half the size of this site. So we're talking about a very low intensity use, 75 families, 8 a.m. essentially to 4 p.m. weekdays, no night times, no weekends, no competitive teams. And there's a reason why this is a permitted use, because it is consistent with a neighborhood. We build schools adjacent to neighborhoods to serve neighborhoods and to serve communities. This school is already serving this community. You heard from an adjacent neighbor who's all for it. So neighbors are going to, respectfully disagree about changes to their neighborhood, but the job for this board is to take in the competent substantial evidence, the staff opinion being the most compelling in my opinion, and in some of the case law I've read, of what is a competent substantial evidence for a quasi-judicial decision on a zoning application. And that is that it is consistent with the current land use and zoning, and it is consistent with the goals and objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan. It's already an allowed permitted use, and we're just 0.23 acres over the size to be in front of the Board of Adjustment as a matter of right. And the staff's preference is that this have an institutional land use, given the fact that it's more than 5 acres. And that is what the code and what the land development code says. So from your perspective, a lot of what you heard is site plan concerns. Pinellas Trail, buffering, all of that will be handled by the staff at the site plan level, which is, as you know, a very, very intense review process. And so respectfully, I think you heard a lot of lay opinion that isn't quite competent substantial evidence about things that are not relevant to a land use amendment and a rezoning. I think you heard a lot of site plan concerns that are absolutely capable of being addressed, because if the staff felt like this site was too small or the use was too intense, they would not have found it to be compatible. And they have found it to be compatible and consistent. So respectfully, we're requesting your recommendation of approval and to confirm the staff's recommendation in that regard. And we look forward to moving forward to the County Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Question?
Yes, ma'am.
So there's been some discussion over the size of the building. It looks to me like the square footage of 40,000 is a 20,000 square foot footprint with 2 stories.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Does the board have any other questions for the applicant?
No.
Having none. Need discussion?
Scott, do you have any?
I have a question, yes, for Scott, if you don't mind, Mr. Swearengin.
Good morning.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say thank you to everyone who came to express their opinions today. It's always very gratifying when we sit here and hear from the public, because we know a lot of these issues are so close to you and so close to your daily lives. And so please understand that we are listening to what you have to say. What I just need to do is clarify a couple of things. Many of the things, as Brian said, are going to be discussed in the site plan review. And those things, I think, might allay some of the concerns of the residents. But that's a process that's down the road. So until this is settled today, that will not go forward. Is that correct?
They would not be allowed to submit a site plan with the proposed use that they have unless, on this size property, being that it's over 5 acres, unless they have that land use in place, and then to be able to just submit a site plan and not go through the type 2 process, the zoning as they proposed as well.
Okay. Can you explain the type 2 process just a little bit more, in a little bit more detail?
I'm going to let my colleague, Mr. Schoderbach, explain that a little better, as he is much more
He's been way too quiet today.
of that.
So the type 2 use process, other jurisdictions, is also known as a special exception, which means the use can be allowed, it's not permitted by right, but it goes to our Board of Adjustment, and they have to meet certain criteria. They look at compatibility, they look at traffic, they look at drainage, they look at buffering requirements, and during that process, they do provide a concept plan. It's not a full site plan, but a concept plan, and those are the considerations that they look at. Is it compatible? Are they providing adequate buffering? Have they demonstrated that their traffic is going to be met? And is their drainage going to be met?
All right, thank you. So I think many of the things that we heard as concerns today would be addressed at that level, not at this level today.
They don't have to go through type 2 if the rezoning was ultimately approved. They don't go through the type 2 because then it's allowable at the zoning level. But then those are addressed at site plan at that point.
Okay, so they'll still be addressed, but just in a different form.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I think that's it. Don't sit down. No, I'm just, go ahead.
Well, my, these are the difficult ones because development is inevitable. I'm a lifelong resident of Pinellas County. I remember when McMullen Booth Road was a 2-lane road. And so it is something. If this site was 5 acres instead of 5.23, they wouldn't even be here, correct?
Correct. There's a 5 acre, once you hit an institutional.
Right.
Is required
And-
to,
The land use component.
land use component, yes.
Right. And the proposed size of the building and everything else is consistent with a lot of that size, I would I believe.
At a one point, again, so the concept plan is non-binding, okay?
Right. I
So
understand that.
I'm not even looking at the concept plan. I'm not interested in looking at the concept plan. So with all due respect, I'm just looking at the land use and all that.
Yeah.
If they were to come in with a building area at .17 FAR of the site, that tends to be a pretty small amount of development, for that size of a property.
And again, we're not here to worry about site plan. That's down the road. And it's just, I understand about, the Pinellas Trail being there, but the trail doesn't have the amount of traffic that it's constantly one bike after another or anything of that nature. I mean, the picture of the trail that was submitted, there's not a single person using the trail at the time the picture was taken. So I'm not, I feel for the people that don't want it, but I think on a factual basis and on what the code allows, what the county's land use plan allows, and everything else, this is a consistent and reasonable ask. So I will be supporting the application.
Mr. Chairman, may I say, Mr. Hamilton, I just want to be clear that if the property were 5 acres or less, a land use amendment would not be required. However, a type 2 site plan review request would still be required unless the zoning were changed.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I have a question. Is this, are we hearing both the zoning and site plan the same?
Land use and zoning.
My question then is if it was 5 acres, would the zoning have to be changed?
If the property were 5 acres, there would be 2 paths for which the applicant could take. They could keep the zoning as is, which is residential agriculture, and go through the type 2 submittal and review process, or they could propose simply just a rezoning to another to another zoning category and not, deal with the land use side. So they could just go through a rezoning.
Thank you, Scott.
And then that would just be a site plan review, counter, walk through, make sure everything meets the land development code requirements, make sure traffic and drainage and all that is addressed. But if they kept the zoning, that option, then they would have to go to the Board of Adjustment in a public hearing setting, and then the Board of Adjustment would make that decision, not staff.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? I apologize if I was a little over.
I got a
verbose.
yes. That's all I
Okay.
needed.
All right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion.
It would be two motions, one for the future land use and one for zoning, so two
Thank you.
separate.
I'll make a motion, we approve FLU 25-08 as written.
Second?
Motion by Hendricks and second by Hamilton. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, likewise?
Nay?
Thank you. Now, the zoning. Looking for a motion on ZON 25-07.
I'll move approval of ZON-25-07. Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Hamilton, second by Hendricks. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay?
Thank you. Motion carries. So our next case today.
Our next case is FLU-25-09. Scott, are you presenting this? Yep.
Overhead's on, okay.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Scott Swearingen, Long Range Planning Manager, Pinellas County. The case before you is FLU 25-09. It is a request to amend the future land use map from residential urban to residential medium. And the subject property is approximately 18.43 acres and is located on the north side of Pine Street at 13400 Pine in unincorporated Largo. The zoning of the property is residential plan development, and there is no zoning change proposed at this time. The property is currently vacant and is a former construction and debris landfill that was on the property. The proposed use, the applicant has expressed a desire to build multifamily housing on the subject property. Outlined in red is the subject property. 134th Avenue North is at the south end. And so we're going to get a little strange with street names here. So you see it says 128th Street North. Let's call that Pine Street because it's more affectionately known as Pine Street. And then Trotter Road is to the east. As you can see from the aerial, you have mostly kind of smaller lots, single-family development on at least three sides, and then directly adjacent to the east is an affordable housing project that is under construction. It was Rainbow Village and is being reconstructed as Heritage Oaks, so that's to the east. The current future land use map on the left side of your slide, you can see it's the residential urban And residential urban is directly to the east, where you have the New Heritage Oaks that's going in, and then kind of to the southeast as well. To the northeast and directly to the south is residential low, and the city of Largo borders to the north and to the west. And on the map on the right side of the slide, you can see how the change would bring that to residential medium. As mentioned, the zoning is residential plan development, and there's currently no change in zoning proposed. That's the zoning on the property. And I'll get into the zoning in just a little bit. Talk a little bit more about that. And the City of Largo does not have zoning, and it's to the north and to the west. Directly to the east, where I mentioned the Heritage Oaks site to the east and southeast is zoned RM, residential medium, or residential multifamily, I believe, Michael? RM. We have R3 to the northeast, and then a mix of R3 and R4 directly to the south across 134th Avenue North. So this is the site. This is the southwest corner of the property, and so you're looking northeast across the property. On your left is Pine Street, and on your right is 134th Avenue North. And this is the sort of the opposite, I guess, the northeast corner of the property, looking southwest. And this is Trotter Road. There's a little jog in Trotter Road at that northeast corner up there. This is along Pine Street, looking south. So the subject property is on the left side of your photo, and this is approaching the 134th Avenue intersection. And this is, well, it's 24th Street Southwest, which is Trotter Road. So we're on Trotter Road here. We're looking north, just north of 134th Avenue, and the subject property is to your left in that photo. You can just barely make it out. And then finally, 134th Avenue, looking eastward at Pine Street. So kind of again at that southwest corner. Just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of a perimeter of the site. So the current RU land use allows residential, institutional, and recreation open space. Office, personal service, office support, and retail commercial are also allowed under certain limitations. According to the comprehensive plan, this land use category is generally appropriate to locations between major employment centers and community and regional shopping centers, in areas where use and development characteristics are urban, residential in nature, and in areas serving as a transition between more between more suburban and more urban residential areas. And there's a 7.5 residential density, so 7.5 units per acre is the density, the straight up density in the residential urban category. And on the subject property, because of the size, that would amount to about up to 138 dwelling units that could be built on a subject property under the RU zone. I'm going to talk a little bit about affordable housing in just a moment, because there's been an expressed desire about building affordable housing. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the density to that regard. A 0.4 FAR for non-residential uses is included in the RU land use. The proposed RM land use allows pretty much similar types of uses, so residential, institutional, recreation, open space. And then again, as well, there are limitations on some of the non-residential uses like office, personal service, retail, commercial, that sort of thing. And for the comprehensive plan, generally appropriate to locations in close proximity to major employment centers and community and regional shopping centers, in areas where use and development characteristics are medium density residential in nature, as a transition between less urban and more urban residential and mixed use areas, and in close proximity to the thoroughfare highway network. And this land use category permits 15 residential use per acre, which would amount to 276 dwelling units. So it's from 7.5 to 15. So you just kind of double that number from the 138 into the 276, and a 0.5 FAR for non-residential uses as well. The zoning, as I mentioned, residential plan development. So this allows, it allows a full range of residential dwelling types, and it also allows complementary non-residential uses as well. And it includes development parameters like height, lot size, those kinds of things, unit types. It can include that as well. And it requires approval of a development master plan. And right now, there is not an approved development master plan. So should they were to move forward in development at all and keep the zoning and not change the zoning to development master plan, would need to be prepared and approved as a part of this zoning. I want to park here for just a moment and talk a little bit about the property has some history to it. So in 2004, there was a future land use map amendment to the property, and it changed the land use from residential low, which is at 5 units per acre, to residential urban to 7.5 units per acre, which is the land use that's on the property now. And that change was in 2004, just over 21 years ago or so. That flume change included a development agreement to allow 207 multifamily dwelling units. And so you may be thinking, you just told me 7.5 units per acre on 18.43 acres is 138 dwelling units. But we allow affordable housing density bonuses that we can grant as a part of an affordable housing project. And we can grant a density bonus of up to 50%, in which this development agreement took advantage of. So the 207 multifamily dwelling units does fit into the residential urban designation on the property, but only as an affordable housing as an approved affordable housing development. So market rate, 138 dwelling units, that's the cap in a residential urban. If you had an approved affordable housing development, then you could do up to 207 dwelling units. So that's where that comes from, that 207 units. It was going to be an affordable housing development. It also included a concept plan that gave kind of the general layout and the unit types on the property, sort of where the parking, where the access points were, and those affordability parameters as well. That was never built, and the development agreement expired. A special exception, a type 2 use, we just talked a little bit about those, type 2 use. That was approved by the Board of Adjustment on the property in 2015, again with a 207 unit affordable housing development that included a concept plan. So a new one was submitted under that type 2 process and approved by the Board of Adjustment. That also was never built, and that expired. So that's kind of where we're at today. We have residential urban as the land use. It's 7.5 units per acre. There are some bonuses that could be sought if they were to come in later with an affordable housing development plan, the county reviewed and approved. There could be density bonuses included with that. But as the land use is, it's the 7.5 units per acre on the land. And again, the applicant has expressed interest in building an affordable housing development, and I'm sure they'll maybe talk a little bit about that as well. Under the RM land use, if this were to change to residential medium, that would allow up to 414 dwelling units if they were to get the maximum 15% density bonus. So you could, at that point, build up to 414 dwelling units with an approved affordable housing development plan. And again, no specific affordable housing development request has been submitted at this time. So we're simply we're not looking at zoning, we're not looking at a development master plan or a development agreement or an affordable housing development. We're looking at the land use right now. And then I'll let the applicant speak to their additional intent and desires for this property. Okay, I'm going to land this plane here. Potential traffic impacts per IT trip generation based on future land use map designations from the RU to the RM looks at 627 additional daily trips in making that change. Okay, and that's at the future land use level. I mentioned that in the previous case. This is kind of 20,000 foot level that the traffic is looked at in much more detail when we have the details of what would really sort of be the anticipated impacts. And that ADT actually amounts to, based on those IT trip generation numbers, about 55 additional AM peak hour trips and 70 additional PM peak hour trips is what you could expect at a high level with that land use change. This property has low flood risk. It's pretty much high and dry. It's not in a coastal high hazard area, and it's not in a coastal storm area. And as I mentioned, there is a past C&D landfill that may require environmental remediation, but that would occur. That's another one of those that would occur down the road. That's just really not a part of the land use, if you will. So in closing, Staff finds the subject property, it's surrounded mostly by long-standing single-family neighborhoods to the north, to the south, and to the west. We have compatibility concerns with much of the surrounding community. The 3 adjacent corridors that border the property, 134th Avenue North, Pine Street, and Trotter Road, those are very minor in function and have limited capacity to those roadways. Past approvals for multifamily on this property included additional assurances such as binding concept plans and affordability parameters. So that with the development agreement came along with an understanding of those things and what could happen. This would allow up to 69 additional units more than, at least up to additional 69 units more than approved in past requests, but without those accompanying assurances as to how the project will be laid out or built. Staff found this to be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and thus is recommending denial. A Board of County Commissioners a hearing on the item is scheduled for November 18 at 6 p.m. And I'd be happy to try and answer any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members have any questions for staff?
Yes, thank you. Scott, there are several numbers out here as far as units allowed. So I'm seeing if there's an affordable housing plan, it could go up to as many as 404 units if that was approved in the housing.
If this had a land use designation of RM, and the county granted the full 50% additional density to an affordable housing development project, then it could have up to 414 dwelling units. I believe it's 414 or 412. I apologize if I got that number slightly off. Yes.
Okay. And, but that's still 7.5 units per acre?
The RM is 15 units per acre.
15.
So if you figure a 15% bonus to that, that would be at about, the max they could do would bring them up to 22.5 dwelling units per acre with the affordable housing density bonus.
But that has not been requested at this
It
point?
has not been requested, no, ma'am.
So without that, am I looking at 276 or 207?
Without that, using the residential median land use designation at 15 units per acre, that would amount to a total of up to 276 dwelling units potential on the property. Of course, meeting stormwater and all those other things come into play. So could they get that? I don't know, but from a land use, data perspective, that would be the maximum they could build. They could achieve that.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
My pleasure.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll let the applicant make their presentation at this time.
Good morning, Katie Cole with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson, representing the applicant Bel Air Development Group, who's the contract purchaser of this property. I don't know if you all are looking at my PowerPoint yet. Okay, very good. As staff said, I think we agree on a lot of things. The county's comprehensive plan encourages mixed-use development. It encourages the intensification of residential development outside of the coastal storm area and coastal high hazard area. And I think we all know there are limited areas within Pinellas County that are outside of the coastal storm area and coastal high hazard area to accommodate this type of development. The applicant respectfully requests this land use map amendment because of the backstops that the county has indicated in its staff report is the reason why it recommended denial. So it's somewhat counterintuitive to us. This request for the land use map amendment going from 7.5 units an acre to 15 units an acre does by right increase the development to 276 units maximum if the county would approve through the RPD process a master development plan. There is still a zoning process that has to happen. Because of the RPD zoning designation, it will address the very specific concerns that the county staff has raised. In fact, the RPD zoning designation specifically requires a variety of housing options to include a minimum of 2 building types, 2-family, multifamily, single-family attached, residential supporting uses as accessory uses, additional setbacks adjacent to any property that's zoned primarily for single-family detached dwelling of a minimum of 25 feet, and for buildings over 45 feet in height, additional stepbacks and setbacks that may be accommodated through that. And this is directly from your code section 138.395. So because of those things, we do feel that this is compatible with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan that we've set forth in our presentation. Here is an aerial of the subject property that Mr. Swearingen already reviewed. It is approximately 18.5 acres, and it is undeveloped. It was previously used as a disposal facility, which further complicates the ability to develop this with single-family housing uses. There are environmental consultants. The county attorney's office is working with the applicant with respect to brownfields designation. There are other brownfields areas adjacent and nearby this property. So we're working through that process now. But certainly because of the prior use, a single-family residential use is problematic on this site, and so multifamily is generally the most appropriate use here. This is, as you can see, the subject property. Adjacent to the east is the Pinellas County Housing Authority's new development. You can also see in the bottom corner there a small institutional area, which is the new fire station that was constructed there on 134th. Mr. Swearingen did go through the prior county approvals that was previously approved for an affordable housing project and received a number of units allocated through the development agreement and RPD process, as well as the type 2 use. If this were to be an affordable housing project, it would have to go through additional approvals as a type 2 use and the RPD. So I just want to be clear that there's not been that request. I also want to highlight, we just received confirmation late last week, from the county with respect to the Live Local Act, that this parcel would be eligible to be developed under a Live Local designation. If you're not familiar, and I'm sorry, we had to have our PowerPoints in too early, so I couldn't include a slide. But if you're not familiar with the Live Local designation, it is a state preemption of zoning that allows for affordable housing projects to be built on properties with certain zoning designations, including this RPD designation, without any type of public approvals. It would simply be an administrative site plan approval through the county staff. Because of the state statute and the parameters set forth within the state statute, the maximum density under a Live Local project would be 1,800 units. Clearly, likely not a reasonable number of units on this site, but that just shows the variety of density that could be approved on this site. The current request is for a residential urban to residential medium designation and to maintain the RPD zoning. The applicant specifically requested to maintain this RPD zoning without the master development plan yet, because it was the applicant was unclear as to what the maximum development potential could be based on this land use designation. But that gives this board and the county commission the comfort that this is coming back through a type 2 process with the RPD master development plan requirements. Those requirements look at utilities, they look at traffic, they look at the buffers, the height, all of the things that have been identified. The residential medium, Mr. Swearingen already went through this. I would highlight that this is nearby Ulmerton Road, and the feeder roads are Vaughn Road and Wilcox Road into this property. Both of those have been found to meet the level of service based on the 2025 level of service criteria in Pinellas County. Supporting comprehensive plan goals that were highlighted in the application that you've had review, the future land use and comprehensive plan specifically encourages a range of housing and promoting mixed income communities throughout the county. Increasing development and design flexibility to provide greater diversity, encouraging missing middle housing. If you're not familiar with missing middle, it's that area of housing that's not necessarily affordable or workforce, but not high net high revenue or high income. It's truly that missing middle for a working class community. It encourages the implementation of affordable housing developments if that is how this applicant decided to go. This isn't appropriate on this site because it does provide the capacity for multifamily and workforce housing to meet a mid-county demand. This is an area that is outside of the coastal high hazard area. There's not a lot of the development that we've seen and the transition in this community in these areas have generally been previously approved mobile home parks or other more affordable housing options that are either being converted to true affordable housing projects or being purchased by developers for higher income projects. It is ideally located on the midwestern side of the county where there is not a lot of opportunity to build more intense development outside of the coastal high hazard area, and it directs density where there is infrastructure and transit already available. This is a picture of the affordable housing development that's adjacent to this project that's already being constructed and the new fire station. We did provide the traffic generation letters, same information that Mr. Swearingen provided, so I don't need to go through that. Again, the goals, policies, and objectives of the county lead us to indicate that this is an appropriate site for residential medium. While I appreciate the staff's concerns about compatibility, that compatibility is addressed through the RPD and Master Development Plan process, which has a number of other stopgaps. And so we would respectfully request this board to recommend approval of this map amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Ms. Johnson.
Your hair, do love those curls.
Thank you.
The RPD that's currently in place, will that stay in place or will a new one be developed?
No, a new one would be developed. There's actually not a current plan. Interestingly, while there is an RPD zoning, because there was previously a development agreement with a concept plan, I don't want to speak out of school, correct me if I'm misspeaking, because the development agreement provided that affordable housing plan that was approved, to our knowledge and the research, there is no existing master development plan.
Correct. Yeah, she's correct. There's no existing master plan when the development agreement expired. That went away.
And then the second question was, why has there not been an affordable housing request as part of this? Is this something that would possibly benefit the proposal today to have that included in the plan?
I think at this point, while our client is interested in affordable housing, that request requires some more specific site plan development, first of all. Second of all, with the environmental concerns that are on the parcel, there is still a lot of research and geotechnical information that needs to be determined to be able to create that site plan. And so I think for those reasons, our client was looking to determine what a reasonable number of units could be, and then whether affordable housing is the right path. Through the Live Local project, it would require a 40% affordable housing requirement, the 15% bonus if they sought a bonus from the county. That 15% would be a minimum of affordable requirements. So there's a variety from a development standpoint and a cost effectiveness standpoint based on the geotechnical issues on the site because of the prior use.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, one more question. You mentioned brownfields. What does that do to your proposal? Is that a deterrent, and does that mean extra time and research and so on?
It is extra time and research. If this is a designated brownfields area, it just means that there would be county, state, and federal funding to support the cleanup of the property. It's my understanding from doing research that one of the reasons some of the prior project did not get constructed was because of the cleanup necessary. This is not, I don't want to scare anybody away, this is not dirty dirt. This is construction debris and materials, right? So it's basically a geotechnical issue that just needs to be remedied. So, but it is a time issue.
Sure.
Yeah, and then the location of where it's found, As you can imagine on the site, creating a site plan is going to be directly related to the location of where this debris is either removed or could be supported.
And I think one more, now that you put that up. There was a concern about the roadways not being sufficient possibly to handle the number of new houses proposed or new units proposed?
Sure. I don't know that that was the specific concern. I think what staff indicated was that a traffic study would be necessary, which would be the normal course of action in this area. This would also require a countywide map amendment, and based upon the countywide rules and their multimodal requirements, there will be necessary multimodal improvements we expect. The applicant has engaged Steve Henry, a traffic engineer, who will be looking at that. In anticipation of this, he simply looked at the level of service, and based on the 2025 Ulmerton Road map level of service, it indicates that both Wilcox and Vaughn operate at a sufficient level of service as a feeder into this area.
Thank you very much, Katie. Appreciate it.
One more question.
Certainly.
Yes. This had affordable housing designation on it previously, and
It did.
expired?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We need affordable housing in Pinellas County desperately.
I think from our client's standpoint, he would like to do that. I think this is the first step in trying to determine what the right number of units on a site like this would be.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we would like to hear from any proponents for this application. Speak in favor.
And check online.
Yes.
Would probably.
The lady just stood up, but I don't know. The lady just stood up.
I think she's in opposition.
Do we have anyone online for in favor?
No participants online.
Thank you. Now, do we have any speakers opposed?
Good morning.
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 My name's Marva Perry. I live at 2085 Trotter Road. I'm 75 years old, born and raised here in Pinellas County. My family moved to 134th Avenue North in 1959, so I know what's over there at Terra. I also, 25-year Master Gardener volunteer for Pinellas County, so I know what went on over there, and I really am very upset about what's going on. In 2004, we had a petition go around to try to stop this, and they did. In 2004, I have the articles out of St. Pete Time, and in 2011, when the county-owned auditors went through and found all kinds of problems with all these transactions that went on with this particular site. Our problem is this. The Rainbow Village project is right there. We don't want two high-density affordable housing projects back to back. Would you want that near your house? We support one. But two back to back? That's not right. Okay, and then if they can go up to 414, and then did I hear her say 1,800 and something? You know how many people that is? I live on Trotter Road. This project would empty out on Trotter Road. I've been in my house over 40 since 1978, and I have improved my property. You think I want to lose the value of my property so that they can make money? No, I don't want to do that. And the possibility of contaminants on that property, it is a brownfield. I've seen the trucks dumping stuff there. I know. I lived there. Also, the stability of the project. because of what has happened on that property, they're not going to be able to build it because the property is not stable enough. Your own reports said that. The traffic. Trotter Road, yesterday, there's a public on Walsingham and Vaughn. I'm coming home. The traffic coming off of Ulmerton Road, going down Wilcox Road, right there at where the Southwest Rec is, there's a stop sign there at Wilcox and Vaughn. The traffic there was blocked up from Vaughn Road all the way to Pine Street, coming off of Ulmerton Road. Traffic there is going to be horrible. It's going to be a problem. And those of us who have lived there, we know it. They know it. The other thing, too, they say that they're a solar energy or green energy company. Why don't they put some solar panels out there and do something for green energy? And then put a field of pollinator plants around it to be more, agreeable. I understand that people need somewhere to live. I understand that we need affordable housing. But to have two back to back, would you want that at your property? Two back to back? We had enough problems cleaning up Rainbow Village, Ridgeview. And that was done. And we lived, peaceable there. Now, I don't want any problems. I'm 75 years old, and I don't plan on dying soon. And I'm going to live in my house, and I'm going to live in my house in peace.
We're out of time. I'm going to ask you to summarize.
And the fire station there, that fire station is not there anymore. It's moved. It's new. But it's too high density in the wrong place, and we don't need two affordable housing complexes back to back. And I have a copy here. I'll give it to the clerk of the two articles from the St. Pete Times. One was, I couldn't find in the archives anymore, that was the audit of what happened to that property.
Thank you. Any other public here to speak in opposition of this case? Thank you.
My name is Gloria Blaine, and I live on 2716 21st Place. This property is right behind my house. And I've seen the water come into my backyard. So there are some water issues and some drainage issues. I don't have any problem with a little tiny subdivision, but 1,700 people, you better build some roads. So I'm opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers today in opposition? Having none, or do we have any online?
No changes online.
Thank you. We'll now give the applicant an opportunity to summarize and close.
Thank you. I think the residents' concerns are certainly that, how to put the appropriate number of units on this site to accommodate both the buffering, the compatibility, and the traffic. What we're asking you today is for your recommendation of the first step of that, to provide a path to allow for the development of this site at the residential medium designation. The RPD zoning ensures that those concerns have to be addressed through a master development plan, and if an affordable housing bonus is requested, that would also need to accommodate the requirements. Today, with a map amendment, you're asked to look at the goals, policies, and objectives of the Pinellas County Comprehensive Plan and how this request fits in there. I think we've provided many of those, but increasing development and design flexibility to encourage a greater diversity of housing types in unincorporated Pinellas County, which is land use goal 3, objective 3.1, kind of sums up the reason for this request. Providing this contract purchaser and developer the opportunity to create a plan to provide housing opportunities outside of the coastal storm area, outside of the coastal high hazard area, and in an appropriate place in Pinellas County. So, thank you.
Thank you. Board, do we have any discussion? Questions, staff? Yes.
Not question as much as I look at this property and I say, I think the one thing it can't be is remain what it is. There's going to be some sort of development on it. Given all the information that we've received here and in the presentations and everything today, there's a lot of potential to this property. There's a lot of unanswered questions about this property. And given those two dynamics, I don't think we can just deny this application or this request out of pocket. I think there's going to be ample opportunity as a potential development opportunity on this property moves forward for it to be denied by boards and commissions higher than us. So I would, I'm in favor of allowing the request for the rezoning, changing the designation at this point of the process, because when you know actual when we know the actual number, I don't believe there's any way on God's green earth they're going to put 1,800 units on there. They had an opportunity, a previous owner somewhere, and this property's had title issues and everything else. But there was a previous opportunity for 200 and something units. So, you know, I think that the right number, I don't know what the right number is, but the process will allow the right number to be determined at a future, somewhere down the line. So, like I said, as I sit here today, I'm going to be voting to let this go, you know, move down the road rather than to just shut it down at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Any other discussion, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just a question for staff. Currently, the residential urban, if you could just remind me, what does that allow the property to be used for right now? What development could occur on the property right now? Because I know there's been some other developments approved in the past.
Correct. So the residential urban is 7.5 units an acre. It doesn't specify what type of residential, so it allows, you know, any type of residential could be from single-family homes, townhomes, duplex, triplex, condominiums. The RPD zoning, which is one of our flexible zoning districts, which requires a development master plan. Those are allow for, again, all those different residential uses as well, where it comes in as a master plan to lay out where those are, what are the setbacks, where are the access points. It's basically like a high-level site plan for the property. That would control what the development, so both the zoning and the land use currently, and as proposed, allows for those range of residential uses.
All right. So it could be developed now, just not as densely.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussions, questions for staff? Having none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request associated with FLU-25-09.
And do we have a second for this motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Do we want a roll call or just all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Three.
Three.
Oh, was that what?
Fails if it's, you might want to roll call it, but.
Yeah, let's roll call it, please.
Nay.
Aye. Nay.
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 Aye.
4-2. Yes.
4-2, motion fails. Anyone care to make another motion?
That we adjourn? Is that all, or do we have anything left?
Well, no,
mo-
you still have business at hand.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So you've got to, the motion failed, but there has to be
So
a
we
motion.
need another motion
Oh.
on
Right.
this case.
Whether, if your motion is to approve under different grounds, or if your motion is to deny based on staff's recommendation, or for some other reason, or whatever it is, I'm not suggesting either way.
Right.
But we do need a motion and vote.
Yeah.
And a disposition.
I'm sorry, I don't understand why. Could you? make that-
Because there's, the motion failed, so the
Yes.
question is still open. The case is still open.
Okay.
We haven't reconciled the case. But the board is not reconciled.
We need another motion.
So-
There's no
so the-
recommendation to the county commission at this time.
So the motion needs to be stated that we deny?
Well, to give guidance to
What
the
would the
county
motion
commission.
need to be, I guess is what I'm asking. What would be the next step for us to do to make this
Well,
move along?
Is to give guidance to the county commission.
So the motion would be based on this, based upon the recommendation presented, that we would deny this? Is that, I'm just not sure how to word this. I'd be
What
happy
your
to do it.
recommendation is to the county commission.
Yes, since the motion to approve failed, we would need a different motion.
Nope.
If it's not approved, then.
Well, I can't suggest the motion.
I know.
I can't suggest the language of the motion, so I've said all I can say
So it
without
has to be
poisoning the
redone?
well.
Is that what he's saying?
We need a new motion.
So we're going to do a motion to deny?
I guess.
Correct.
So, I will make a motion that we deny FLU 2509 based on the board's recommendation, I mean, the staff's recommendation, and that we, then what, is that enough?
Perfect.
And whatever your recommendation is to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
Which you pretty much just stated. I have to be careful what I say.
Well, I understand. I want this to be right, because I know this is a little bit more sensitive, and so I'm just a little tentative
Yeah,
on wording here.
So the land, and generally it's inherent in the motions, but the local planning agency is a statutorily, unlike BAA, it's a statutorily mandated entity. This board has to exist under Chapter 163 Florida statutes. So the point being that your role is to give a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners as the local planning agency. And so in this case, hasn't been a recommendation stated to the board. So when they get it, they see that there was a motion for approval that failed, and then ampersand, there's no conclusion.
Okay.
So that's where I'm trying to get you without telling you which way to go. 'Cause
understand.
I can't do that.
I
don't want
understand.
to poison the well, so.
How's this? I make a motion that we deny FLU 25-09 based on staff recommendation and recommend denial to the Board of County Commissioners?
That's a legally acceptable motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Second by Cataldo. All in favor, say aye.
All in favor of denial? I'm just
Of the
making sure.
motion,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, right, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we need a roll call? I think so.
Aye.
Nay. Aye.
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 Nay.
So, motion passes. Thank you. Do we have any other business?
That's the last item on. We do have items on for next month, so we will see you next month.
Very good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved?
Second.
In a second. Thank you.
Enjoy your trip.